Hey, designers and developers, we are going to go through how to create your very first HTML document. Well, so really, Replit is going to do it for us because in order to create a REPL, we actually choose a template. So it's going to do it for us. But then we're going to go through what all the awesome things mean and then make our own HTML code. So let's get going. All right. So here we are in Replit. Okay. So hopefully you are all signed in. You've got a username. I got a profile. Most of this is public because we're not purchasing anything. So basically most applications on the web, if they're free, then they're going to be public, but that's okay. So what are we going to do? Notice how I use this 3-line menu. Guys, do you know what they call this? It's a hamburger menu. So 3 horizontal lines is a hamburger menu. And you know, the ones that have the 3 dots, those are hot dogs. Yep. So what we're going to do first is click on directly create a Replit. A REPL. That's how you say it. And then we do have to start with a template. And so obviously we're going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So here's this one. Now there is another one. Let's see. This one has an auto refresh, which is very cool because you really get to see it live. Either way, I think it's more fun to not know what you're going to get yet and then refresh the page and you're like, oh, I did it. Or, oh, I didn't do it. So totally up to you. The difference is that one is going to, like, every time you do code, it's going to refresh and show you what it is. And then the one that I'm using here, you have to refresh manually. And it's not a bad thing to get into because sometimes people will be coding and they're like, my code didn't work. And it's because they didn't refresh. So, all right. Capital rubbery open look. That's not what I want it to be. I want it, my first type HTML page. And then we just go ahead and create the Replit, the REPL. Boom! There's so much stuff, okay? Look at all this code. All right, so this is a lot of code, sure, and that's okay. What's amazing is if you did the file structure assignment already, then you have a file system. This file system right here is very similar to what VS Code looks like. So if you've ever been in VS Code, you've always got this file thing on the left, and it shows you which files you're editing or, you know, which ones are linked together. And then, yeah, and then you can always create new files. You can add folders. So in our file, on our own computer, it should have folders. We can actually like upload folders here. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and start walking through so how this actually works. So I can open and close the folder, the files. I have all these tools, like awesome, but we don't need any of these right now, so don't worry about it. But it's very cool. There's so many things you can do. You know, like what resources we're using. Okay, we're not building big applications, but you can build amazing big applications in Replit. We're not going to do that. All we're doing is building a simple web page. And right now we're only using our index.html. Now, why is it called index.html? Because a server recognizes index.html as the home page. So you always got to have index.html to start. All right. And then it also has JavaScript. Cool. Oh, look at this. Not sure what to do. Run some examples. That's fun. I have to play with that later. And Styles.css. So all this is doing right here, this Styles sheet is actually hooked up to the index. Okay. Now look at this. These tabs. Again, VS Code. VS Code does the same thing. So it's going to be really easy when you go from here to VS Code. But we can collapse this. We can upload folders and files. I love this. Okay. We can download as a zip. When we download as a zip, that means that we can then upload it again to like GitHub, or this little button right here up at the far top left will close up that side panel. Great. I hope you guys can see okay. Let's see what my browser settings are. 150, so I hope so. Now, because it's 150%, the actual text on this screen is wrong. It is not the accurate size, okay? Because like the web browser itself has its own style sheet, meaning that everything on the page has a default setting, okay? And this style sheet forces text to be Times New Roman. It's a type of font, right? Which is a serif font. We don't really use those much except for decoration. And then it's 12-point font. And so 12-point font is actually kind of small when we're reading online. But it's good for like, you know, little areas and stuff. But if we're actually writing for somebody to read, then we want to have at least 14-point font. It just helps out. Right now, we've got Hello World on this page. Why do we have Hello World on this? How did Hello World get there? Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, this script, okay, well, let's start at the top. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's start at the top. And first, you know what I'm going to start with is, oh, the very top. Here we go. The doc type. This is a document declaration. And all this is saying like, hey, web browser, and okay, everything on an HTML document and a CSS document, you want to imagine that it's talking to the web browser, or that's what. And so every piece of code that I'm writing is saying, hey, web browser, do this. Hey, web browser, do this. Because that's really what code is, right? It's writing commands for the computer, or, you know, whatever software application we're using. It's telling, run these instructions. Okay, so we're writing instructions. Our instructions are telling our web browser right now, hey, this is a HTML document, so it knows what language that it needs to be looking at because it has this library that it's accessing. Okay, and then the next part is saying, and there is no difference between HTML5 is the same. HTML5 is standard now. We don't even really need to say HTML5, but. And then we have our HTML actual declaration, okay? Now, this is actually saying, okay, this is an element. So the HTML element is a little bit different than the document declaration. So the HTML element contains everything else that's going to be in there. It's telling, hey, this is the language that we're using again. Okay, first it was like the document. Now it's like, yeah, the HTML. It's missing something in this. This declaration is missing something in the standard template. And so what we need to put in here is a language. And I want you to see what I just did. Okay, now I'm using my keyboard. Okay, I urge you to use your keyboard as much as possible when you are coding because it will save you time. All right, so in my HTML document, I start typing ling. Okay, now I see that there's all these, this is another VS Code awesomeness, like, and it's in this web application, which is great. So we start typing what the attribute, that's what this is called, isn't it? Attribute. We start typing it and it automatically is like, oh, are these the things that you want? It knows the language, and so it's going to suggest to us. In this top one, LANG, that's what we want. So immediately, rather than continuing to type it out, I can press tab on my keyboard and it fills in the language equals quotation marks. Every attribute always has like this whole language equals quotation marks, okay? That's an HTML standard for an attribute. The attribute is saying, is describing more about that element. So this language or English. So we're going to put EN. And that wasn't in there, and I'm glad it wasn't in there because, hey, now we know. And it's important, and I think it's talked about in our book, so that's good, or our guide, the guide that we're using. We move on to the head element. Now, what I'm trying to show you as I'm going up and down, like clicking up and down, I'm showing you, this is unfold line, but we could actually say unfold element, right? Like what is in this entire element? It's everything else that's contained in a page. Okay, so we move down to the next element and we see, oh, it has this little caret again. And if I click the caret, oh, well, I see that I'm in the head element, right? So it is something we have to recognize about the head. Okay, first of all, remember this language is talking to the browser. And so if the head is talking to the browser, it's not seen, right? Because there's no like vocal cords or anything going on. So like this is like, we got to think of this as like telepathic communication. And that's the head, okay? And the reason why I emphasize that is because whatever we put in the head should not be seen. Okay, it's not going to be seen. It's supposed to be directions specifically just for the web browser. It's not to tell the web browser what to display. It's basically to tell the web browser about the page and put information in it for search engines and different things. So let's open it up and see what is in this right now. Okay, so we have a few things. First is the meta. And this says character set equals UTF-8. Look at this. If I hover over it, it's so cool. It's like, this attribute declares the page's character encoding. So the meta gives the characteristics, again, of the website. So we have character encoding, like this one, and then other attributes, and that have to do with SEO and et cetera, et cetera. These are self-enclosing because they only have an opening tag. There's no other. So the next one is about responsive design. So the name Viewport means that, hey, this is what I want this to look like when it first loads. Viewport is the viewable part of the browser. So this whole white area over here on the right, this is a viewport because this is rendering the web page. What it's saying is, hey, the content, I want it to be, the width is equal to the device width. If we didn't have that in there, it looks really junky. And you could play with that later on. You just should never, ever, ever not have it in there. And every template is going to have it in there. So I wouldn't worry too much about it right now. But it's funny if you make a web page and then you check that out. If it's not there, you can see the entire website on one screen. Very strange. Okay. The next line 8 here is the title. So the title, this guy and this guy, the meta character set and the title are the bare minimum that you can have in the head element. So the title for this one is Juliet's first page. I'm going to say that. So you should put your name in there. And you don't have to use your last name. That's fine. So there we go. Now, this title, you're like, okay, I did this title. Go ahead and refresh this page over here. Why, like, if it's called a title, why isn't it showing up on my page? I mean, I feel like that's a really valid question. Well, it's not showing up on the page because, again, this is inside the head element. And the title element is simply a way to tell the browser what the name of this document is. And on every tab, that is what the title is going to be. Now, ours is index.html, my first HTML page. That's because Replit has its own style sheet in the background because we're kind of embedded within this browser. But when you are coding on your own or when you publish your website, this will wind up being the name of the tab. And we don't see it on the page. In fact, titles on a page that's viewable is actually a heading tag rather than the title tag. So we'll look at that in a minute. Now, this one is automatic with Replit. This is a link to a style sheet. Before we do style sheets, we're going to use inline styles for CSS, and we're going to use embedded HTML, CSS. So the style sheet is kind of after all of it, but it's so standard to use an external style sheet, just simply meaning that we're linking here to our other file. Because when we're working with websites and in our folder system, we are always linking to other files, okay? When we use images, we're linking to another file. Call script, we're linking to another file, all sorts of stuff like that, okay? So you'll see that as we go on, or as you move on in freecodecamp.org. And then Well, that's it for the head. So boom, the head, talking to the browser, other things that we'll use is like a meta description tag, and you'll go through that within FreeCodeCamp as well. Next, number 12. Here we have the body. So the body is what is seen, okay, in the world of HTML documents and web browsers. So when we open up this body, we automatically see hello world. Oh, well, that's what matches over here. So this is not good coding, but it's the standard, right? It's just like, yeah, just put a bunch of words in there. Well, that is not using good syntax at all, because when we are working in HTML, there's a very specific set of syntax that we should follow that include headings, paragraphs, especially, and then ordered list, unordered list, bare minimum syntax, and then we have a ton more now. Okay, we have all these semantic HTML that basically just describes what each part of the page is doing. Okay, so you will see a list in the course, and of course it's in the guidebook as well. Okay, so this script right here, it places a badge on my Repl's whole browser view back to your Repl's cover page. Yeah, so I haven't dealt with this much yet, but basically what it's going to do is put oh, right here, this made with Replit. Oh gosh, sorry guys. Okay, right here, see this is a script specifically that's called Replit badge version 2.javascript. So JavaScript adds interactivity to your page. And so this right here, I thought it was a part of the Replit system, but actually this is a badge that goes on our websites showing that it can take us back into the Replit environment. So that's it for now. We have our first page. We haven't done anything else to it besides just, hey, look, we have a title. So what you will actually copy into our page, well, technically you could copy this guy, which is interesting. Let's see what happens when we open the link in a new tab. Yep, it takes us right into it, so that's cool. So you can simply, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to see what happens when I open it in an incognito window. Let's make sure that it works. Incognito window basically signs you out of everything. And perfect, there it is. So run it, wonderful. Do need to be able to show the code. Okay, here we go. When I click show code, I should be able to see the files. Beautiful. There it is. I will see yours, and we're all good.